Does anyone else think that Elon Musk's goals really are for the past few years to get himself into the Guinness Book of World Records, into the individual that can happen to tank the value, brand, reputation, and trust of a company the fastest? Because it's really just feeling like this was all just preparation for him to go to SpaceX, build some rockets, strap himself onto it with the company of Twitter/X, and then put those on a rocket, aim them downwards towards the Earth, light the fuse, and just get on a straight collision course down to Earth and destroy it. Because that's what it's really feeling like with all these decisions he's been making for the past few years with Twitter/X. And it's been horrible decision after horrible decision. And honestly, I was one of those people in the beginning that kind of was benefit of the doubt. Maybe he is not as crazy as people think he is, and he maybe won't be the worst person. I mean, whenever you see anyone come into a new executive role when it comes to companies, they always try to make their mark on the company and sometimes radically shift, things. And then after a while, they realize, okay, yeah, there was a reason why this company was formed this way and they did things this way. And then they get back to what things used to be, or maybe they do some actual improvements and they actually surround themselves with competent professionals and advisors that can give them a nice steering course to make sure they have good success. Well, in the case of Elon Musk, that's not really feeling like the case. It's feeling more like he's surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men that don't really want to actually give him the proper answers, or just nod along and let him do whatever he wants. Because this recent decision with changing the block button functionality makes absolutely no sense to me, and I don't know anyone that actually is in support of it. And if you are in support of it, give us an explanation why, because the only reason why I can see this change would be to encourage creeps. Because the block button is one of those basic understanding functions of social media of, I don't want to deal with this person anymore. I'm going to block them. I don't have to interact with their content or see it anymore. And they can't interact or see my content anymore. And then we just kind of go into our own little worlds and, do our own thing. There is zero reason to change that functionality into what Elon Musk is proposing, to have it go into, well, you block them, you just can't interact with them, but I can still see your posts. Other than Elon Musk has probably been blocked so many times himself that it's now affecting his own feed to see a lot of things, that when he goes to see responses to things, he's seeing that he's blocked on it. Like maybe he's going onto a Twitter thread and trying to see the course of the discussion and realizing a lot of people have been blocking him. So he's like, this is not a good experience for me. A lot of us have blocked Elon Musk. Let's be honest. A lot of us did, especially after the whole, when he got butt hurt situation, where, what was it? He got upset that Joe Biden, the president of the United States of America, a world leader whose actions actually impact millions of Americans, and in many cases around the world, citizens of many other countries, was getting more engagement and reach than Elon Musk, a billionaire of several companies that happen to be controlling a social media company. And not even like a large one like Facebook or that. Mark Zuckerberg isn't even that pressed that he gets less engagement on his own platforms than a lot of other celebrities do. But Elon Musk thinks that he is entitled to have the most amount of coverage and engagement and, reach because he owns these platforms. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I digress. This makes no sense to me, the block feature. I mean, I can complain about Bluesky's block feature where you can actually scrape the information through the API to see who is blocking who and, all of that. And that's its own issue that we will talk about when I talk about Bluesky separately. But I don't understand this choice with Twitter. I don't understand many of the choices that have been done with Twitter. There's really not been any decision that's been made, even before the acquisition of Twitter by Elon Musk, that made any sense. Not the $43 billion acquisition that then saddled Twitter with a bunch of debt, giving them about $1 billion per year in interest, if my understanding was correct, or the fact that, now it's such a huge burden on banks that they're now unable to offload the debt without a loss. I know, boo-hoo. Well, let us have a cheer for the banks. Oh, they don't have their money. Or, you know, there was the whole, like, Twitter Blue fiasco where he took a well-reputable, you know, trust verification thing that then, you know, was upended because everyone should be entitled to it if they spend a few bucks, and then trying to go after bots when I found a lot of these bots are actually still with Twitter Blue verification because they were able to pay for it, which was the whole reason of the Twitter Blue being, you know, able to pay. That never made sense to me because Twitter's still on my account that I don't even really post on for the better part of a year now because I've moved over to Mastodon. I have that whole video talking about Mastodon and social media and the history of that you can go see as well. Is still getting more engagement from adult content bots. And from what I'm being told from a lot of my friends that are still on Twitter, that's still basically the thing. And he stood on his little soapbox as well and basically got him kicked out of one of the countries that happens to be one of the largest with market share in terms of social media, Brazil. I have a whole other video. I went into that whole subject about the Brazilian ban, and all he had to do was just acquiesce to their laws. You don't have to necessarily agree with them, but the reality is they have sovereignty to do what they want with their citizens and the laws that control speech and such in that country. And let's get this out of the way here. Freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. And also, there's another freedom that a lot of people don't seem to understand. Freedom of association. We go into that in the video. But nonetheless, millions of people jumped ship after the Brazil thing in Brazil to go to Bluesky, Mastodon, and Threads in varying degrees. I remember Mastodon used to be this small niche platform I, played with in 2016, 2017, and then went back to Twitter because I'm like, this is a really cool idea, decentralized, federated social media that you can actually control your own social media, your own data, but there's only like tens of thousands of people here, so it's not really a real social media network that is of, good value. And now there's 12 million people on the Fediverse as a whole, with 2/3 of them on Mastodon. And a lot of that has been fueled as a result of Elon Musk's actions. You've got, 130 million people on Threads. Bluesky and Threads both have the same issue, which I'll get into later, about how they're basically like beta software. They are still not fully fleshed out. And they even managed to get about 10 million users on there. We're going to see how well that sticks out over time with both Mastodon, Threads, and, all three, not both, Threads, Bluesky, and Mastodon over time. But Mastodon at least has been holding its own for the past couple of years for, a million or so monthly active users. And I know Bluesky right now has got its peak of around 3 or so million users, but Mastodon had that same issue with influx of users. We'll see how that stabilizes over time. Same with Threads. But right now, it's seeming overwhelmingly like people are not happy with decision after bad decision after bad decision with Twitter/X, that they're starting to actively jump ship. It's feeling a lot to me like MySpace did back in the day. Do y'all remember that? MySpace? And how we just shifted over to Facebook? But now I think there's a lot of discussions around controlling your own data. And speaking of data, DeleteMe and cybersecurity, it's no secret that your information may potentially be on hundreds of different websites, data brokers, and databases out there. And often those databases and such may be compromised, having your information leaked, like the recent National Public Data Breach with 2.9 billion records affecting hundreds of millions of people that had their physical addresses, social security numbers, phone numbers, and other sensitive information revealed. So that information can be requested to be removed, but there's hundreds of different sites. Opt-out guides out there often show how tedious and time-consuming it is, plus you have to redo that opt-out every so often. DeleteMe has a very powerful automated service that I have been trusting for more than a decade that takes care of this process for me and many of the people that I've worked with, and you can check them out below in the link that I have in my description and get yourself a little bit of a discount while you're at it too. But there have been a lot of earnest and honest discussions around data with the different social media companies, as well as what we can do if social media platforms start changing in ways that we don't really like. And the European Union at least has some laws, like the Digital Services Act, if I recall, or is it the Digital Markets Act, that allows interoperability with different services as well as standards for these platforms. Whether you agree or not with government, enforcing certain laws, a lot of these things seem, at least in my mind, common sense to be able to have across the board, because now social media is pretty much a staple in all of our lives. So I'm really hoping that we can see more embrace of decentralization and federation of networks so that we can actually have the social media networks that we like, as well as move in different places, because Twitter's basically speedrunning themselves into death. And I don't really think this is going to be good for anyone. Twitter, in my opinion, may eventually sell. Probably see that happening in around 2026 or so, because Elon Musk can only lose so much money with this platform before even he himself has to admit defeat, and he's going to be losing a lot of money when he sells Twitter. I'm going to predict, and I could be wrong on this, he's probably going to be selling it at half the cost of what he acquired it for. Yes, he can pretty much still afford that, but nonetheless, he has some big problems that he's going to have to deal with, and one of those is waking up to the damn reality of what the average user actually wants, and he needs to stop putting in ideas of what he thinks he wants and start listening to actual users. And I think a lot of this is going to have to involve reality checks with hiring people that do intentionally have opinions and views that are going to be contrary to his own. But unfortunately, I don't think Elon Musk is capable of being around people of diverse opinions and views to challenge his own and allow himself to shape himself in different ways. I think he likes his echo chamber. That's just my opinion with things. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining me on this rant on the Twitter ban and the demise that I see them on right now, and hope to catch you around soon.